Right. So I want to talk about the past weekend. This past weekend. I want to talk about the fights that was on this card. Now, I did not talk about any of these fights, at least not that I can remember. And I want to talk about why I did not talk about these fights and what I saw. Now, I felt like these fights were going to be bad fights. I had a feeling before the fight that they were going to stink up the card. And for the most part, that is what happened. That is what happened, and I'm disappointed about that. I'm disappointed, but this has happened several times, so it's nothing new. But I have to deal with this. It was bad going in. I knew that first fight was going to be very bad. Now, what I want to show you here, it was really bad. Okay. The momentum of the card was destroyed by the female fights. I don't even like to acknowledge this. I don't like to compare the female fights to the male fights, because it's almost not fair to look at the momentum shift during a female fight and sort of compare the performance to the male fighters. But last night, it was a lot worse than usual. Okay? All right. Sorry about that. So, last night, the opening fight was horrible. But it didn't give me any confidence. Usually, when there's a male fight that opens the card and it's a bad fight, usually that gives me confidence because it's easy for the women to stand out if they fight after a stinking male fight. But that's not what happened. Petrovic versus Carolina was horrible. That was a horrible, horrible fight. And, I can't say that it broke the momentum because the fight before it was bad. It just wasn't a good showing. Now, you got to understand, when the women have a bad showing on a card, a lot of it is due to their low numbers. Because there are men who have stinking fights, but there's so many male fights on the card that it's not possible for the males to just look bad. You see, they have a cushion because of their population. Okay? But this fight was horrible. Petrovic was horrible. Her striking was horrible. Listen, if you can't have success striking with Luana Carolina, I just think that's a bad sign. Okay? I just think that's a bad sign. You should have some success striking against Luana Carolina. Luana Carolina has horrible defense. and she's very slow, very gangly. Okay, so you had that fight. And then we had the Brenner fight. I can't pronounce that guy's last name. Kutaladazi, whatever, against Brenner. That fight was epic. It was epic. I believe it got fight of the night. That was fight of the night. So already, that's a bad start. You have a stinker female fight, and after that, you have a male fight that's fight of the night. And then another female fight right after it. That's a lot to live up to. And Carol Rosa against Yana did not exceed expectations. And I mostly blame Yana, but it's really not her fault. I feel like Yana was putting in decent effort, but her style is awful. Those knees, when she would press Carol Rosa against the cage and throw knees to Carol Rosa's midsection, those were depressing to look at. I was bored out of my mind. I was not excited. I was not really entertained. Now, I feel like Carol Rosa and Yana put in decent effort. They put forth decent effort, but it could have been a lot better. I mean, Yana, she runs into a clinch, but it's not like she punishes you once she's in the clinch. Yana has no punishing offense at all. She can't do anything and actually hurt anybody. Like, all of her offense is relatively harmless. And sometimes it's rough to watch. Yana looks bad. Just as a fighter, nothing personal. Yana is not a hot addition to the division. She's just not. Her striking is horrible. She has no power. Her technique, her form is horrible. Nothing she does is even sea level. So, poor girl. Carol Rosa, I like her effort and all, but I don't know. Carol Rosa is just, she doesn't do it for me. Okay, she doesn't do it for me. I'm not impressed. When I watch Carol Rosa, I don't feel like she'll be a top 5 fighter. I don't think she will bring a new generation of fighters or fights. Just not excited. And then Lipsky versus Gatto. Now, a lot of people feel like Gatto won. But I don't have a problem with Lipsky getting the decision because she was the aggressor. And fighters need to realize that and stand their ground. You're getting more credit for standing your ground and being the aggressor. It's being held against you when you move backwards and laterally. especially for long stretches of the fight. Even if you're doing good work, they're going to credit the fighter who's bringing the fight. And that was mostly Lipsky. So even though Gatto may have actually won on points, she didn't look like the winner. She did not look like the superior fighter during the fight. Looked more like she was trying to avoid getting stopped. And I'm not passing judgment. I'm just saying, or that I'm just pointing out that is what they are rewarding now. They're rewarding you for coming forward, bringing the fight, pushing the pace. And they're penalizing you for being on your back foot. Just something to keep in mind. Now, this is a low point for WMMA. Like I said, I knew it would be before the fight. I feel like these fights were a bad look for WMMA and solidified its low point. And I'm not sure when it's going to bounce back. You have this card next week that I know will help rebound because Yasmin Jauregui will fight again. And she will fight Denise Gomez. Yasmin, I can depend on her. Okay, she's very reliable. Not so much with Denise Gomez, but Gomez, I think, should make for a good punching bag for Yasmin. You know, Yasmin should have an easy target. So I'm going to take Yasmin in that fight. And that's the only female fight on that card. That is next weekend. July 15. Home against Silva. Now, this is a good card. Well, maybe not. It's not too bad. Ashley Evans Smith against Aileen Perez. Ashley Evans Smith. I didn't even know she was still active. Okay. Ashley Evans Smith. I'll take Aileen Perez in that fight. Also, Norma Dumont, Chelsea Chandler. Now that is a good fight. Should be. That should be a good fight. Because I expect a stoppage. Okay. I think Norma fairly hard to stop. But we'll see what happens. And of course, Holly Holm against Silva. Possibly a boring main event. And that fight could possibly set WMMA back into the hot seat. So fingers crossed. I hope Holly Holm shows up. Because I think Silva shows up every time. Every time Silva comes for war. I just hope she calms down. Stop being so emotional. Because all that emotion is going to make you tired. It's a 5-round fight. I need Mayra Bueno Silva to relax. Okay, relax. Take your time. You got 5 rounds. Also, later this month, boy, so on 5 different weekends in July, there's a fight card. It's one of those rare months where you have 5 fight cards in the month. How about that? And this is the second from the last. Shauna Bannon against Bruna Brazil. Okay. Bantamweights. Ketlin Vieira against Kian Zad. Okay. Don't know what's going to happen there. I'll take Ketlin in that fight. Molly McCann against Julia Stoliarenko. We'll see if Stoliarenko can make weight. That's the big question in that fight. In the last card of the month, Dustin Poirier Gaethje 2. Joanne Wood will be most likely knocked out by Priscilla Cachoeira. I have such a hard time seeing Joanne Wood make it to a decision. I have a hard time seeing that. If Priscilla is allowed to throw punches, Joanne should be in trouble. Joanne's punches are not that effective. They're just not. Priscilla's are very effective. I'm going to take Priscilla. Wow. 5 fight cards in July. That's all right. I'll take that. First card next month. Andrade Suarez. Ain't that crazy? That fight is only like a month away. 1 month away. Andrade Suarez. Huh. That's the only fight on that card. Okay. That's August 5th. August 12th. And this is a fairly close card. A little over a month away. Poliana Viana against Yasmin Luciendo. Somebody's getting stopped in that one. Also, Montserrat Ruiz against Jacqueline Amorum. Not sure what happens there. Not sure what happens there. The fight most likely will end up on the ground. Poliana Viana. I don't know about that. Luciendo's dangerous. Yeah, she's dangerous. Low point, but it will bounce back. It'll bounce back. This happens all the time. And here's the good card. And this is just next month. This is next month. Natalia Silva will fight Andrea Lee. next month. And that's on the same card as Jean Lemos. Okay? That's a pretty highly anticipated card. What is this? UFC on... No, it's UFC 292. Okay, so this is pay-per-view. You also got Karine Silva against Marina Moros. Both Silvas on the same card. Oh boy. That's a pretty good card. How about that? Lot of cards in the next, 2 months. Lonnie Yang, J.J. Aldrich. Yeah. So, yeah, I'm not going to come down too hard on them. But I feel like the fights this past weekend stunk. Ivana Petrovic looks Luana Carolina level. Okay. She could not even beat Luana Carolina. I thought she looked bad. She has no grappling at all. Anytime you have to spam leg lock attempts, it makes you look bad. Okay. She was spamming leg lock attempts, trying to get her a reap submission and whatnot. Nothing else she did was effective. Her striking was not effective. Her grappling was not effective against Luana Carolina. So I don't expect her to be a contender. Yana looked bad. She looked like a D- level fighter in there. Okay? That's D as in dog. She looked like a D- level fighter in there. Yana. And Carol Rosa did not look much better. Carol Rosa, I might give her a D to D+. They looked horrible. And I don't want to see a fight like this again. I hate to say stuff like this. But to be a true supporter of the sport, I have to call out the horrible fights when they happen. Okay? And I do it as motivation for the subsequent fighters and performances to be satisfactory. Okay? Nothing against the ladies. Nothing at all. I'm a heterosexual man. I love women. Okay? I'm 110% heterosexual. I love women. It's not an anti-woman rant. But I have to acknowledge when WMMA is at a low point. They're at a low point right now. They had a bad weekend this past weekend. Let's hope the next few cards are a lot better.